Yeah, so you want to close it?
Yeah.
Open this shit up. Cool. Yeah, I'm sitting here with Holden, who just climbed. What was the climb?
La Hacienda.
La Hacienda. Cool. Tell me about it, man. It looked real sketchy, pretty scary. How'd it feel?
Yeah, I was. It was a climb that I was right at the edge of being completely terrified, but also the other side being in complete control. The footholds are very small up top, and I just didn't really know how much I could trust them. So my upper body was super tense. I was holding on to this crimps, like I just didn't want to come off if one of my foot slipped. So yeah, it was a great time. I'm really glad that I didn't rappel down. Once I saw that there weren't any bolts up there, I was like, it's not really meant to be rappelled to check out. So I figured I'd have more fun figuring out the moves going up
on the wall. So it was
Yeah.
a true day flash on site crushing type of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was something it was definitely the scariest climb I've done, just because I didn't know anything about it, and the river rock is really smooth and polished.
Did you watch any videos before?
I didn't, and
Okay, wow.
I typically, for the high balls, I typically do check out what people do on the top, but this was just, I was going in blind, and it was very exhilarating for sure.
Nice, very cool. So I mean, I got the video here of you doing it, and the bottom, I think you looked pretty strong on. Through about. And I saw that you cleaned off that ledge pretty good, and mantled that beautifully. And then, let's see. I mean, I'll definitely pass you this, but it looked like up towards the top, you switched your feet quite a couple of times. Maybe if you could just share, like, what was going through your head.
Yeah, definitely. So from the beginning, I'll just start there.
Cool.
Traversing over, so you hop off that one boulder over the river, and I was pretty confident that once I got to the base of the line that I would be like chill to like take a breather and like look up and kind of know what I'm gonna do. But the traverse over, there's a big ledge for your foot, but I was kind of worried that I was gonna slip right then and there, like just jumping over. I
saw you tiptoe your feet kind of back and forth a couple of times.
Yeah, because you can't see the ledge from where you are. There's a bit of a bulge, so you can't really see where your foot is.
I see.
You just have to trust that ledge is really big, and I was just jamming my toes in as far as I could. So once I got over that was a bit of a surprise. That big ledge, and the climb looked like it had been climbed recently because of all the chalk, but that ledge was quite dirty. So I cleaned that off, and that actually sketched me out a little bit because my shoes ended up getting a bit of moss on them. And so you can see I brushed off the left shoe, I think, at some point. Yeah, just before I start to go up. But the right shoe I didn't really brush, which was a little bit heady for me. But after I climbed on it a little bit, I felt really comfortable with it. So after that mantle, those holds are good, and there's like good edges for your toes. But then getting up to the very top, and this is what I was looking at when I was checking out the climb from the top and from the bottom, was like there aren't many obvious foot placements, because there's a few edges, which I'm very grateful for. I thought that they were just going to be smears, but the edges are quite small, and getting your weight over to the left was a challenge for me, because the holds at the top, you can see like the left one right below the last hold is facing down to where you want your body more to the left, and so that was all those foot switches and like just trying to like get into a position where I felt comfortable moving up to the next holds, because the very top two holds are also quite poor. They're really not good. And so, I mean, I was just taking my time and kind of swapping my feet until it felt like comfortable enough to move up to the last little
Now, was there any fear going through your head? Like
at that moment?
Or were you still in that flow state of...
It was, like I said, it was like right on the edge. Like I felt in control. I didn't feel like I was going to fall, but I felt like at any moment, if I'm not going to figure it out right now, then I'm going to be terrified. And I don't know what's going to happen. But I didn't get to that point. I didn't ever think I was going to fall. I didn't ever think about falling. I really just thought of, like, how am I going to do this? Every second of the way, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm really happy with it. I would repeat it eventually, because now that I know I can trust some of those feet more.
Sure.
I think I would flow up it a little bit nicer, but very happy with the on-site.
How would you? I mean, so you said it was more heady. It sounds like than the 5.9 you did on. Was it Grandpa?
On the Grandma, yeah.
Grandma
the Southwest Tourette.
Yeah.
So that one, there's just huge jugs. It's vertical climbing, and there are pads underneath me. The Southwest Tourette is taller, but way less scary.
Interesting. That's wild. It's like almost double, I think, the height.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't
maybe
feel
not,
like it.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's crazy.
Just because in Bishop, or on that boulder in particular, the holds are just huge, and this is a slab with like very minimal edges. There weren't any edges bigger than half a pad on there, and the feet were scary too. So
that's incredible. Something I was thinking about the other day is you're pretty new to climbing, right?
I would say I'm in my beginning phase.
How old are you now, and how old were you when you first started climbing?
Yeah, I'm 20 now, and it's been 3 years, 17, late 17. So basically I started climbing 3 years ago once we hit November, like the end of November. Mm-hmm. So, about 5 or so months before the pandemic hit, which is a good reference.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, coming up on my 3rd year this winter.
And do you feel like you've been pushing grades the last year? Or...
Yeah, I think I've always been pushing the grades. Actually, yeah. Do you want me to just talk about from when I started climbing?
Yeah, do it up, man.
Yeah. So I started climbing in a little gym in Charleston, West Virginia, where I'm from, and was immediately hooked on the feeling you get topping on a boulder, like everyone is. That's what kind of drew me in. Over time, I kind of realized that I like climbing for more reasons than that, than that feeling. I ended up really getting into the movement and like the creativity that comes with climbing, and what you can do on the wall. So I was able to push the grades pretty quickly in the gym. I remember climbing V4 within my first month, and V5 the following, and V6 the following, and V7 in the gym the following. And the only reason I was not strong enough to do this, the only reason I could was I think I would just try to look at moves and like think how I could make them easier, That was my first instinct. So watching someone try a route and they're like, wow, that move's really hard, they're falling on it. I wouldn't try to do that same move, I would try to kind of cheat it and make my way up my own way. So that's kind of always been attractive to me about climbing is my personal abilities and using them to climb. And so I kept climbing in the gym for about a year, and then I finally got to make it outside to the New River Gorge, and just bouldering at this point. And so within my first year of climbing at the gorge, I climbed V7, and that's about the time when I decided to move out west. It was very quick, it was like a year and a half of climbing, and I took a road trip out here and really loved it. And so I kind of followed that and started climbing in Tahoe and stuff. And after a few months in Tahoe, I was feeling really good and managed to get my first 8 before that 2-year mark. So yeah.
You want to talk about that 8? I know you're pretty stoked on it.
I do. Yeah. So it's White Lines. It's like one of the most famous climbs, boulders in Tahoe. It's beautiful, and it kind of encapsulates what I love about climbing, because it's long and technical. There's lots of holds and there's lots of ways to do it, and so I went to the boulder by myself. I typically climb by myself because I can really like get in the zone, you know. And so I went there and just immersed myself for the day and just like tried all the parts of the boulder, and no one move was like a crux. It was just every single move was like, okay, how do I do this? And so after the first day, I ended up like figuring out what I think could be like a sequence that would work from the bottom, and yeah, the second day, it all came together, and it was really nice because I didn't feel like I was strong enough as a climber to climb that grade, but it felt like I was like just using everything in my wheelhouse to make it up there, and yeah, it was very satisfying, and the movement on that boulder, just I still think about.
You get it in one day?
I got it in 2. I came back the second day with that. The first day was like really, really productive. I didn't. Well, the first day it wasn't really productive on paper because I only climbed like maybe 3 moves at a time, but I had tried all the sections, so the second day I wasn't really expecting it, but I did manage to get it, and it was great.
So it seems like you're not trying hard enough climbs.
No.
If you can get a project done in 2 days.
Well,
from my humble opinion,
I think it's important to build it up slowly. Like that was a climb that I don't think I could do that with all V8s.
Sure.
Not by any means.
Sure. Yeah. But within your style, you might be able to push something. You might be able to push a double digit. Like if you worked on it for a week, you know.
Possibly. I have thought about it. I haven't really seen a line that is really attracting me.
I see.
In the double digits, and
I'm not saying that is your philosophy for climbing or anything, but it's just to have something that's like, to have a project for a week or, several day project. Or I think of like Sharma going back to the same problem, working it for 15 years or some bullshit,
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, I look forward to when that time comes. My longest project wasn't that. It was actually the second V8 I did in Bishop called Flyboy, Sit Start.
Sure.
That was like 4 days on it. And that one was, it was much harder for me because it was like a power boulder, and like there weren't any other ways to do it. There was maybe 3 different ways to do the hard move, and so that one felt really good also because it was just like, okay, now I feel a lot stronger. And that was like, 6 months after the first one. So the first one is like, felt like I wasn't strong enough to climb the grade. The second one I was like, okay, now I feel strong enough to do this kind of stuff. So yeah, looking for future stuff. I do like pushing the grades. It feels nice to have like progress that is that you can see.
Sure. And I think something that you just mentioned is like, it's like not all 8s are the same, or not all, in my case, not all 4s are the same, or not all 5s are the same. And something that I adopted a couple of years ago was like maybe feeling more like a more well-rounded climber, and trying climbs that are not what I typically gravitate to, to try to be more well-rounded. And so, do you feel like that powerful climb was more, or Flyboys was making you more well-rounded, or?
Yeah. I do think so. I think, especially after that, I was like, during this kind of off-season, like the summer and stuff, and the spring, I mean, besides the break I took from climbing, I have been climbing a bunch of more moderate grades and just trying to get a wide scope, because I do want to do what you're talking about and widen my scope. I do think Flyboy did that. It was like an overhung route, and like just made me had to be like strong at it. So yeah, definitely helped widen the scope, and I am looking to keep doing that because I want to be able to climb every V8, not just the ones that suit me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I see. And what would you say is your anti-style?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I've always thought about, because style is brought up a lot in climbing, and I've always thought about what my style is, because then you can identify your anti-style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what my style is, because some routes seem to suit me, and they're not similar to another route that would suit me. Typically, bigger moves, longer moves on good holds is good for me, because I feel like there's a lot of room to work there. If there's a wide space between a hold, but it's good, you can like really maneuver your body off of it, instead of like a crimp ladder where like you have to just go up. So I don't know, because I don't know what my anti-style is, because I haven't really found it yet,
Okay, that's all right.
But I also haven't found my style either.
Sure. Well, that's exciting. You're still like in this development stage of your climbing.
I would say right now, though, the boulders that attract me the most are like the vertical ones, and the overhung ones just appear much more difficult at first.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any like climbers that have inspired you to get into climbing, or did you just find climbing yourself? And
I have two good friends back home in West Virginia who got me into this. Like the one friend, his name is Ethan, brought me to the gym for the first time. The other, his name is Judson, and I went climbing outdoors with him a lot. Those two great friends of mine, and yeah, they got me into it.
Sick.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. I'd never heard of climbing or bouldering before going to that gym, so no climbers, like recognized climbers, have inspired me really. Just those two guys, and there's been plenty of people on the way that you meet at the crag, and they're very helpful, and they help you push your grades and stuff. I think everyone I meet in the climbing community has been a part of the journey for me.
Sure. Yeah. It's a good community.
It's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool, man. Well, that's rad. I guess the only other thing that's like that I want to ask about is your slacklining. You're also fairly new to slacklining, and I would say you're already thinking about highlining, and you've maybe done highlining. Maybe share a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, I love slacklining. My good friend of mine, Dominic Sofel, got me into that sport, and I'm very grateful for that. He's really, really talented at it, and I would come with him to the highlines whenever I couldn't even walk on a slack line, and would just like stand up on it and then immediately fall like over and over again. But I had a lot of fun, and I knew that like I would really get into slacklining once I got my own rig, because I couldn't do it very much using other people's. So yeah, once I finally committed to it and got the whole rig myself, I really started seeing some progress. I feel like similar to climbing, puts me into that state, and it's just what I think about. And so if you think about it all the time, you're doing it all the time, you're bound to improve,
When you say you're thinking about it all the time, is it when you go back into your rig, you're just dreaming of that next climb that you want to get on, or?
Sure, yeah. I think about future climbs a lot. Definitely when I was in the first 2 years of my climbing, I would think about climbing while I was going to sleep. Now it's like I don't think of it as much in that sense, but I do when I'm at the boulders. I do just get completely immersed in it, and that feeling sticks with you after you're done climbing. It's not so much that you're thinking about it actively, but you're sitting in bed and you're like, that that memory of you being there at the boulder is like just in there, you know. And then same with the slacklining. I mean, yeah.
Nice. Do you have aspirations for a big walk on the slackline? I guess big is relative, but
yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty new to that, so I just want to continue to do longer lines, you know. There are some high lines that I went to with my buddy when I didn't know how to slackline in Tahoe, like Lover's Leap and at Pie Shop and stuff, that are gorgeous, and I would love to walk on them now. But as far as like long-term goals, it's just more of like I just want to feel really comfortable on every line that I step on. It's not like climbing as much where there's a problem that I want to do. It's like I just want to keep slacklining and getting more comfortable on it and stuff like that.
Sure. Right. Yeah. And walking a little bit further than the last time.
Yeah.
I feel that. That's I started with the trick line, and then my friend gave me her longer line, and it's nice to walk further, and so it adds. It's crazy how it adds so much difficulty by just adding a couple of feet, or an extra 10 feet or whatever. And
I found the long lines, like even when I was just a beginner and couldn't even walk, I would want to go to the long lines because I would see Dominic on it with the slow bounce, just like it just suspended in the middle of the air, and it really draws me in much more than the short lines.
Sure.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Cool, man. I think that's all I'm curious about. But anything else you want to say about like climbing in general, or maybe your philosophy on climbing, or I know it's on the spot, so
yeah, sure.
No pressure. But
let's see. I mean, just do what you're thinking about, climbing and slacklining, and it's just come naturally, and I've kind of built my life around it because it's natural. I didn't have to work for it, so yeah, I mean, you can't really look for that kind of stuff. You just have to be aware of it when it comes to you, and I think acting on those instincts is the best thing you can do in your life. Yeah, that's all I got.
Sick. Perfect. Well, thanks, man.
Thank you.